This is the fastest and simplest way to scale with Meta. We're gonna go step by step how I like to approach scaling on Meta specifically. Obviously, some of those principles do apply in any kind of ad platform, but just to be clear, as you can see, I scaled in one day, basically just do 15K a day on Facebook and on TikTok, about 8K. Generally, this actually last month around 150K. Actually, it was involved in scaling to 165K in net profit. Overall, I'm just gonna go straight into value here. I just want to tell you that this stuff works if you actually do apply it. So then actually go straight into it. Obviously, just a couple of words who I am, because you might be new to the channel. I'm a growth consultant and generate over 25 million, I would say now, in sales, overseeing 500K a month in adspend currently, working top agencies, as well as handling my own work. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me actually go into the value stuff. Give me 2 minutes. I want to cover the fundamentals here and what I think the most important stuff. And I'm going to go into scaling strategies right away. I know you want to jump to scaling strategies, but this is how to scale without wasting any budget. In order to scale efficiently, and what I've seen from my experience, scaling multiple businesses to 6, 7, even 8 figures as well, involved in different setups and occasions, it really down to a few fundamental things that you need to have in order to scale. It's not just a strategy that you have on Meta. I really want to really drive this point home here. Step one is you need to have like a repeatable winning and testing and scaling system. Now, I've talked about this too many times on this channel, but this is really key. You need to have a system where you take your creatives from testing into scaling in a consistent manner, and it's actually repeatable. Like actually, you plug this program in a sense and system, and it's actually working. It's not something that you can really scale without knowing. You can't really scale if you don't have a system in place, from testing to scaling to the whole process. You can't run and just throw creatives and think, oh yeah, it might be just creative. We don't have the right creative. It's really down to having a consistent, structured way that we test and scale, so that we can actually scale to 5, 10K a day. Now, this is how it looks and what I have developed and what I've seen working very, very, very well in multiple different industries. First of all, we have phase one, research. I follow an 8-step process, researching my customers. It might be a consulting client, it might be a hands-on client. I still do the same, whatever that is. I go through the process of research, see what is my ideal customers, pain points, then go into phase two with message testing. We use a single ad variable isolation method, which really isolates to see what's working, what's not. Phase three, creative testing. This is how we turn one ad into 100. This is secret sauce for real. This really allows us to stop that creative testing roller coaster that we need to test creatives all the time, produce new creatives. Phase four, we scale predictably, because we do have all the winning elements from the previous phases. It's not just a case of scale and just increase the budget. We increase budget strategically behind winning elements that have actually emerged, and we know they are working. And this is how you actually scale efficiently without wasting any budget. So step two, we need to have creating high converting ads and creative testing process in place. The key to scaling is creative, and having a better way to actually put that would be the key to scaling is creative, and creative testing process is what allows to rescale predictability, as I said, not just a few tactics. This is what I mean here. It's really having the right type of creative, researching your customer, who are you targeting, really do some competitive research, see which angles and style of creatives do work. For example, in the fashion niche, it might be specific angles, maybe some specific videos, maybe some lifestyle shots of people wearing the actual brands. It might not be that much of a testimonial, obviously. It might be how they will be feeling, or maybe some get ready with me or style of videos. It's really niche by niche, but every niche has high converting ad styles that do work tend to work all the time. So this is super key. I mean, it's common sense, like research who you're actually targeting and which your customer, and do some competitive research. But super important to throw this out, because I see so many people basically just saying, okay, that's scaling strategy. It's not just scaling strategy. This is a proven way to waste a lot of money if you just increase spend behind what you don't really know what's working. Obviously, I have here some examples of high converting ads. As you can see, like, it really clearly showcases the value and the unique selling points of the brand. For example, as you can see, you can easily see what's the product, what's the message. I've seen so many brands in the accounts that I actually audit that, to be frank, they just throw any creative out there. They have no structure, nothing behind the whole thesis. So this is why they're kind of really scared, because they don't know what they're working. And when someone scrolls in the feeds, they don't understand what's the product and whatever that is. So super important to have high converting creatives. And I'm gonna drop a separate video that I'm gonna go niche by niche. That might be a bit more helpful to identify like the best performing ads for you to maybe just start with. Now, step 3, one of my favorites, it's so understated and so underrated as well. You need to stick to the winning ad formula. Nobody says that, but it's one of the most important things here to scale. As you push more budget, you need to go deeper rather than wider into the winning ad formula. You need to really just squeeze different variations, really edit close the winning format and the winning creative. For example, if you have static that does very well, why not take that exact static, make a hypothesis, test 5 different headlines, because this is how you go deeper. You test on the same winning ad formula. You're not saying, oh, this static work, let me just create one from scratch. So this is how you really just end the creative testing roller coaster. You need to go deep into the winning ad formula, and this is how you're gonna scale efficiently without wasting your budget, guys. Step 4, you need to have the right account structure. I'm giving you here about fundamentals before hopping into the actual strategy and the scaling strategies and what I will do in the account itself. Again, 9 times out of 10 audits that I'm actually doing in the account, they're using setups back from 2018-19, have duplicated 20 different times the different ad sets, ads and stuff. This can really mess up your scaling if you don't know what you're actually doing. So you need to follow a consolidated account structure with clear testing and scaling environments. I like to have one testing, one scaling campaign. At least, as you can see here, is a screenshot of a consolidated kind of account. Obviously, this can take a few different forms, depending on your niche, depending on your budget and stuff. But this is the core bread and butter. You have a testing and scaling campaign. Promote your testing, your creative testing into the scaling once they actually hit the KPIs. And this is how you scale like with clarity, without like pushing like, guys. Really imagine, guys, you're spending 1 to 2K a day. Let's say that you're at a point, you might be out, you might be spending more, you might be spending less, but just imagine that you're spending multiple thousands each day from your business. And you introduce unproven elements every time you create a new ad. It's just unproven. They just haven't really, worked before you know that it's actually winning. Into a high spending campaign, that you're spending 2K a day, for example, and you think that will not actually mess the performance. Like, you need to have clear testing and scaling environments so you can see clearly what's working and what's not, basically. So what do we need to scale before actually scaling? Like, I don't know why nobody actually says that, but before scaling, we need to have like some things in place. First of all, I like to have a look at data blending metrics. So good trend of KPIs and health. I like to have a look on NCCPA, or it might be just the cost per lead that you guys are getting if you just optimizing for leads. I like to look like the last 3-4 days, depending on how much I'm spending. If it's actually looking healthy, it has like, we're actually improving, I like to go into that account and increase our spend. But if the whole business health is like not looking that great, I don't like to just push spend just for the sake of it, just because Facebook says so. So you need to take account how, from a top level standpoint, your business is doing. And then just basically to have 2, 3, or 4 winning ads under the target CPA that have consistently generated 20, 30 sales at the target CPA. But I'm sure that if I push my budget, it's not gonna be I'm pretty sure that this will actually work. So scaling strategy, let's actually get to the sweet stuff, the scaling stuff. So you have basically 2 ways that you actually scale on Meta and pretty much every platform. You have vertical scaling. This is when you actually increase budget on the asset level. So you just click on the button, you edit it, and you just increase budget. Best practice here, around 20-30% increases. It won't really disrupt the machine learning too much. It's a slow and steady way that just, it doesn't mean that you can't really scale that way. It is like my go-to actually scaling method. This compounds. If you actually increase 20% daily, or every 2-3 days, after 30 days you're gonna have like 10 or like 15 increases. So you can see this really compounds over time. It's really the steady way to go up. Obviously there might be a case that maybe a client calls you, or I don't know, you need to push budget aggressively, that you might go into horizontal scaling, or just more aggressive budget increase. to be clear, horizontal scaling basically increasing space in the account. So we're scaling by adding more ads or campaigns. It might be, like this is a great way when you actually reach a certain level. You scale through multiple funnels, scaling through, testing different post-click environments. You might be adding maybe a manual bidding campaign, just adding more on top of what you're actually doing. This is how you increase horizontally. So scenarios, let me actually go into some different scenarios. I thought to put this together, it might be more useful for you guys, depending on where you actually sit right now. Now, if you're actually on the low end of the budget, I would say anything below 10K a month, it's low for me. I was just getting my testing winners. So supposing that you do have a creative testing, or if you don't, you have to actually create one after this video. I would just test, obviously go through the testing process. I have a video here that you can actually view. Group your ad creatives by similarity or by creator, or however you want to do this. I like to do it by similarity. In your testing, just a testing MBO, increase just budget by 20% in the testing winners, basically in each ad set every 3 to 5 days. If you're actually doing well, that's like step number one. Once you find 3 or 4 winners, just leave them running in the testing until they actually fatigue. Then I will just duplicate those out into a new scaling. That this way actually goes with a core scaling campaign, which if I typically like to have an ABO, just because I'm actually testing an ABO as well. I like to have a bit more control with a creative group that getting by similarity. So for example, let's say that we have on the testing campaign, let's say some creatives that is like, I don't know, us versus them, let's say, and we have like 3 or 4 winning ads on that. I would just take that ad set, or like across the different ad sets that I've actually tested in the ABO, I'll duplicate them into a core campaign. Again, group by similarity. So I will have one maybe a creative, one maybe ad set, or us versus them, and I would just like put more budget behind it. And this is how you scale. I like to test like broad or some stack interest. Just to note, I also like to just group them by similarity in that core campaign. So at the start, you might not have that many of the same creatives. So you might just group them all together into one big ad set with all the winners from the testing campaign. And then I like to test some broad, because we're testing on broad most of the times, and some stacked interest. Again, just a note here, stacked interest won't really scale that well, but they do have high efficiency in most occasions. You can see much high ROAS, low cost per acquisition, but they won't really scale. So again, just another note, you could also use a CBO for that. I would just urge to go with the ABO, just to have a bit more control, especially on those low budgets, and because you probably don't spend that much money to really get the most out of the CBO, because it just mostly wants a high budget. And again, you can actually use that. Again, you might actually use it to scale horizontally. You can add a CBO as well, and if you really know what's working after a point. But I would just urge to go with the ABO. So let's say now that you actually might be on the higher end of budget, you have like room to push. You don't really worry about budgets here. It's basically the same thing. I would say like similar steps to the one mentioned above. You want to see from a top level standpoint, but you could also add a few stuff. Obviously, just a caveat here, you using higher budgets at scale, if you do have the budget to do that. But you could also add a manual bidding campaign, I would say, which is, you move all the winning assets from that broader interest testing that you do into this campaign. You set each audience, and ads combination with different bids, all around target CPA of plus minus $5. This to really squeeze more out of the winning assets. You might have 1 or 2 winning assets. You squeeze more out of these assets with hitting them with different bidding strategies, and really just trying to control the whole account CPA down when you're actually scaling. So the number 2, you can actually add an AC Plus campaign or Advanced Shopping Plus campaign. This is really for my fellows out there. This campaign runs at high budgets with only winning ads. And I like to work, actually this is the best way I found it. I like to import winners from an ABO on a weekly basis. So we're constantly feeding the beast here. Really killer campaign here, really has done very well for us in the last few months basically. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The similarity, the differences between high budget and low budget. Again, more budget, like you can start scaling and be more aggressively. right from the testing to scaling if you have high budgets. But that's pretty much it, I would say. Obviously, there are other stuff that go into it, but again, that's like the basic stuff. I want to really drive home the fundamentals here. Don't overcomplicate this stuff. You really need to keep things consolidated. Really focus on creative testing and having a process that you move from testing to scaling. And then obviously, as you advance in scaling, there's some other bits there, but you're really down to that. It's a bit more advanced, but after you actually scale up to a certain point, for example, I had multiple experience with brands like, they get passed away revenue plus spend budget on Meta. Basically, we hit a kind of plateau or, performance declines constantly. Yeah, you need to connect to a more powerful desire across your market as you scale. So what people actually miss is that most people actually target in the most aware. So with different promotions, like very product specific and stuff. So that's only like a very, very small percentage of the whole market that you're actually targeting. So as you can imagine, as you push more spend to scale your business, you need to move through the sophistication levels. Obviously, this is not something that I came up with. This is from a great marketer, Eugene Schwartz, I think. I'm linked that book in the description. It's an amazing book. So obviously, you need to go back to the drawing board and research, find new angles, maybe build again new landers, find new customer segments you can actually tap into, or connect to a more powerful desire across your market in order to scale. These are the biggest unlocks for scale, to be honest. I just put it into the last slide because nobody will be interested in that. But honestly, like, find new angles, be focus on the fundamentals, on your winning ad formula, really the key things to really scale. And lastly, I want to take into account here market awareness, as I said, and sophistication. As you grow after a certain level, obviously the customer actually targeting is more unaware of your solution product, so you need to throw a bit more, let's say, a bit more persuasion into your whole ad creative and process here. With, like, as you can see, with claims, proof, stories, and secrets, unique methodologies and stuff to really scale. But that's pretty much it. I hope you really enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions. I have some links in the description if you want more added support from me. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching this. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And yeah, have a good day, guys.